Hello and welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, where we get to interview very smart women all around the world that simplify one topic either in business or in life. And today, my very special guest is Louise Brogan, the founder of Social BNI. She's working with entrepreneurs and small businesses all over the world to help them figure out how to market their business online in a clear, straightforward way. Louise is also a busy mom of 3 and has a hyperactive spaniel who deserves his own blog. Now, I'd like to talk to Louise today about how to thrive as a parent and an entrepreneur at any age. I'm really excited about diving into this topic today. So I'd like to take the time to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Louise Brogan. Hello,
Thank
Louise.
you very much. Hi, Mary. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, it's so great. So now, Louise, tell us a little bit about you. Now, if people have never heard about Social BNI, what does NI stand for first?
Well, it's for Northern Ireland. So I live in Northern Ireland.
Excellent. So tell us, how did you come to start your own business and start Social B?
Okay, so I actually, before I had Social B, I had a craft shop. And it was I knew that I wanted to have my own business, and I thought that the crafts was the way to go, really, because it's such a long-winded story, and I'll try and keep it short, Mary. My sister was really good at crafts, and we started doing locally classes for local women, and I kind of expanded that into selling craft supplies and had a craft shop.
So wait, what kind of crafts are we talking about?
Oh, so like card making and scrapbooking.
Excellent. Cool.
So we would have run scrapbooking classes and kids crafts and all that really lovely stuff that, you know, people like to do and as kind of a hobby. So being an entrepreneur at heart, I thought that I would start a business selling the supplies to the women and hosting the classes. And that was, you know, it was lovely. It was a lovely business, but I didn't make any money, which is, you know, kind of important when you're trying to run a business.
Minor detail, yeah.
So actually what happened was a business development officer came out from my local council and sat down with me to look at the business and look at the numbers and everything. And after about 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes, she said, Louise, that you're putting everything into this business, but you're not actually making any money for yourself, which I think is, you know, it's not uncommon, to be honest, for women maybe starting out businesses that way. But she said to me, but you're really good at social media. And now, Mary, this was 2010, or even before, maybe actually. So people weren't really using social media for their businesses, certainly not locally here. She says, but a lot of my clients would love to understand how to use Facebook for business. She says, why don't you do that? Because my background was I was actually a software engineer and then an IT project manager. So selling crafts was a complete departure from that. Mm-hmm. But actually teaching people how to use social media for their business was kind of bringing me back around into not necessarily the technology field, but more into the area where I was really the most comfortable, which was, you know, in computers.
Yeah.
So that's where Social B was born.
Yeah, it's very cool. And do you find that you have a passion for it? I mean, just as much as you did with crafts? Because I think sometimes that's the thing. It's like, well, do I really love this? I know I can do it, but do I really love it?
Well, ironically, I was not passionate about crafts. So I think that was possibly part of the issue with the craft business.
Interesting.
My sister was passionate about it. I was passionate about business.
Aha.
And what I am really passionate about using everything to do with technology and computers. And that was really my day job, was teaching people within the health service how to use software in their everyday. So my day job was helping people like district nurses and occupational therapists and physiotherapists how to use computer software to make their jobs easier. So I already had the IT teaching background going on. But if we go back right until I was, my first days in secondary school, I was one of the first kids in school to have an email. Like I have an email account that's from like 1985 or something. I was always this little secret techie geek.
Yeah.
And I love being on the internet even back then. So it's kind of like I've married all the different parts together. And so now I'm doing what I really love doing, which is really simplifying a lot of the confusion around online marketing and social media for other business owners who, a lot of people say to me, Louise, I find it I'm not good at it. It's too complicated. I feel stupid. And those are the people that I love helping them, because no, they're not stupid. And it is not that complicated when you have the right person teaching you how to actually use it.
Brilliant. So let me ask you real quick. Did you become a parent first, or did you become an entrepreneur first? What happened first?
I became an entrepreneur on my first maternity leave.
Aha, interesting. So how old was the baby when you were like, I'm going to do this, I'm starting this company?
When I got pregnant and I went off of maternity leave, I had Sarah's 2005, and within, I don't know, a couple of months of her being born, I love my children and I love being at home with them, but I kind of needed something else to do as well. I've just got one of those busy minds. I like being busy. I like being occupied. And I started it really when when I was on my first 6 months maternity leave with Sarah.
You know, it's funny that you should say that, because I was exactly the same way. I have 2 children at home as well now, 7 and 9 years old. Yeah. And, you know, I love being a mom. I feel like I have to qualify this. Like, I do love being a mom, but I, remember in those early days, it's like, I need to use my brain in different ways than just feeding, sleeping, and changing nappies. Like, your brain, especially if you've been going, and you've done that for so long, whether in your own business or working for someone else, and then baby comes, it's just like, wow, you need to have some semblance of something to focus on, I think is really important. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because I actually found one of my feeding diaries that I had when Sarah was, literally weeks old, where I was writing down, the times that she fed and all this stuff. So I don't have the kind of mind that just sits and does nothing. So I definitely needed something else to think about while I was at home with her, as well, during naps and stuff, not just laundry and cleaning the kitchen and all that stuff. That would have driven me to distraction, I think.
Absolute bunkers, yeah. So talk to me about the journey of starting your own business. So you literally have a newborn at home. You're like, right, I'm going to start a business, make this happen. What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned along the way? And I imagine there was probably a few fumbles as well. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm sure there's other ladies that are listening right now that are going, I'm right there with you, Louise. I'm doing this. How do I make this work?
So Social Bee actually started whenever my third child was born. So it was the business I started when Sarah was born, was the craft business.
Oh, right.
And so Social Bee was actually started when I had my third child. And when I look back now at the things, I mean, I did a course locally on how to start a business, which I really recommend. I knew nothing about accounts or taxes, or even when your taxes, it might sound really daft, but when your taxes were due, and how did you even work out what you owed?
All the paperwork? Absolutely.
And how to invoice, and when would I expect someone to actually pay my invoice, not being too shy about asking somebody for the money they owed me for the work that I'd done. So there's loads of little things, but I think the business, what I started out doing, Mary, was the first clients that I had were actually friends and family. So whenever it was suggested to me to go and help people with it was Facebook initially, to be honest. I approached my friend who has her own Pilates business, and I said, I would love to get a bit more experience with this. I can do it for myself, but I want some more experience. Could I set up and run a Facebook page for your Pilates class? And she was just delighted, because she said, oh, that would be amazing, because I don't really know what I'm doing. So she set that up. I set that up for her and then showed her how to use it. And then also my mum is in the Girls Brigade, which is like a youth organisation for girls. And I said to her, same thing. I set up a page for her to manage to keep in touch with all the parents. So finding my feet that way. And then I started going to networking events and meeting other business owners. And I mean, I definitely had the right product, because a lot of people were like, well, I don't know how to use Facebook, and why would I use Facebook? So a lot of the time I had to convince people as to why they should be social media for their business. But it really started from there, and then it was word of mouth.
So let me ask you, are you a consultant, or do you actually go in like a virtual assistant for small businesses and say, right, I need to, freshen up my business Facebook page, then Louise and her team is going to do it, right?
So I've actually completely transitioned. So I started out doing the management for people.
Like doing the actual work.
Yes, doing the actual work. So people, and that was tricky enough. And anyone who sets themselves up today as a social media manager will find the exact same issues. People just think, oh, well, Louise does the Facebook page, I can forget about it.
Yeah.
Where I've moved to now is actually training people how to do it themselves.
Right.
So I run workshops locally for businesses and charities. I go into small businesses and sit with their teams and explain the benefits of using social media properly.
So why is it so hard for someone just to outsource it to a virtual assistant? What's the tricky part about that?
The tricky part is that when you are a small business owner or an entrepreneur, you know your business inside out, and people will buy from people. So if you can take the time to make your own social media posts yourself for your business, you're going to get far more engagement than you would if you outsourced it to somebody else.
Meaning that you're speaking in your voice, you really know truly what your products and services can do and offer. That's hard to really delegate that kind of copywriting, you think, to a social media manager?
I think if you find somebody who gets your business, then that relationship can certainly develop to a place where, yes, they can manage it for you. I do understand as well that you can't do it all. I have a virtual assistant who helps me with admin and booking workshops and making sure the invoices come back in time and stuff. But it's taken me, I'm now 5 years down the road with my business. And it's only really in the last year that I've started to use a virtual assistant for that.
Yeah. So I want to turn a corner a little and talk about how to truly thrive as a parent and as an entrepreneur. And now, how old are your kids now?
So they are 7, 10, and 12.
Right. So they are no longer little bitties in diapers and waking up at 3:00 in the morning for a feeding, right? But can you talk to us like maybe the different stages of life, maybe that when they were the littles, 0 to 5 years old, what was that like to juggle both of those things, the late night feedings and the not sleeping and the delirium from it all? And can you give us some ideas of how to just simplify it? If you are listening and you're in that stage now.
I think whenever you have really small children, you need to just be aware that you can't rush. You can't rush the business, because if you're trying to really build your business fast while you've got kids that age, something is going to not work. And I would have seen myself sometimes getting stressed because there was something I just wanted to finish, but the kids have woke up and they need my attention. And I think what I learned was to try and do the work when the kids didn't need me, and then put it aside when they did need me, and then maybe pick it up later on when they were in bed. Because if you are trying to write emails while the kids are tugging on your sleeve for the attention, nobody is winning.
Nobody. Like literally nobody is winning. Like that is the truth right there. Drop the microphone because it is so true. Because I find for me, my kryptonite is whenever I have to fix something on my WordPress website and I'm like, I don't know why I can't figure it out. And it's like, oh, if I just a few more minutes, and you've got a crying baby there. No one is winning. You're stressed. Your heartbeat is rising. The baby's really sad. The WordPress is not fixing itself. Like no one wins. Absolutely.
No one wins.
Yeah.
There are, when they're that age, there are some things you can do. So for example, locally to us, there's a children's soft play called Funky Monkeys, and with Wi-Fi. So, if your children are 2 or 3 or 4, you can go along there with, I don't know, if you could bring your mum with you, that would be amazing. But you can sit with your laptop and keep a close eye on your kids playing beside you. Maybe not at 2 years old, but maybe slightly older.
Yes. So like the 3 to 5-year-old age, that is such a mom hack. That's so true because, literally some of those places I found in the UK, they have check-in and check-out points at the front door. So you literally, there's no way, the children are self-contained as well. There's no way somebody could escape, and you can keep your eyes on them all times. You've got Wi-Fi, the smart ones have good coffees and cappuccinos. Like, we're talking the modern day co-working space, right?
Yes. And that is the place you will find the dads who are in charge of the kids. They're not in the park trying to keep their eye on everybody running around.
Yes.
They're in the soft play where they know the kids can't escape. I can get a good coffee and sit and do my work.
And get a couple hours in of stuff. Yeah. Well, talk to me also about, again, in the 0 to 5-year-old range, how important is it to have local family or friends or even other mothers and fathers? Let's just be clear. Moms and dads both handle children equally, right? That you can depend on and lean on for extra support. Did you have that when the kids were that young?
Yes, I am so lucky in that my two sisters and I all live within half a mile of my mum.
Incredible.
Yeah, amazing. And the kids are all around the same age. So in fact, Harry is the same age as Sarah. So we've got between 14 and 6 in our family, and that is 7 kids. Legally. So my mum, just amazing. Help to us all. Now she's now in her 70s, so we wouldn't, ask her to mind them for the day or anything anymore. But 10 years ago, I could have just said, Mum, I'm just finishing off a piece of work, and do you mind collecting them from nursery or whatever? No problem. My sister and I, so one of my sisters works full time as a teacher, and the other one has more flexible working. So between us, we can juggle the school pickups together. If I'm away to do a workshop for the day, I know that my mum or my sister can get the kids, and that is just so invaluable. And I really appreciate how lucky I am for that. I know that's quite rare.
And I think for those that are listening that are like, well, that's great, Louise, but my parents are nowhere near me. My sister doesn't live anywhere near me. I'm all by myself. How do I do this? So do you have any tips or advice for how somebody could find other like-minded parents on this?
Yeah, well, I do. I think that whenever you start going to like mums and toddlers groups, and you will find somebody that you will just bond with. I mean, I think that there's a lot of women who have busy careers, and then they start having kids, and they're at these mums and toddlers, and they're going, well, these are all the stay-at-home mums. We've got nothing in common. But that's wrong, because if you actually start talking to the other mums or dads in the group, you will find people there who are in the same boat as you. And, it's even if it's just somebody to go for a coffee with while your kids are playing in the living room, and to have somebody to just talk to about whatever's going on in your business or in your life is just, it's invaluable. Definitely connecting with other parents locally is just really good.
Yeah, so looking for those parent groups, looking for even sometimes I know communities or neighborhoods or even villages will have their own Facebook group if they're super organized, connecting with those groups. And I think also it's really important to say this out loud. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think we as women get very proud and we're like, well, if anybody knew that I don't have all my ish together, then it will be, like I have to keep it all looking like everything's fine. Like asking for help is so important. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely. I've never been one to shy away from saying, do you know what? This is not working for me. Can somebody please come and help me here?
Yes. Yeah.
You see the parents struggling in the supermarket because one of the toddlers is having a tantrum, and then the one that's inside the shopping trolley is screaming, and you just think, would somebody not go over to that woman and say, are you okay? Do you need anything? As opposed to, people would be quick to judge. And that could really make that woman's day, just to go over and say, do you need a hand?
I feel you. I see you.
Yeah, I've been there.
I've been there. No judgment. Let me carry your groceries.
Yes, exactly. This is very normal. Can I please open your car boot for you?
Right. So let's talk about your parent, you're an entrepreneur, and your kids are ages 6 to say 10 years old. What are the challenges at that phase of being a parent and also juggling your business?
Well, it's interesting. I think that that's when I start getting homeworks from school as well.
And after school activities.
Yes. So today is Wednesday. We have got all this week, the school are closing early for parent-teacher meetings. So rather than they used to do it for 2 days out of the 5 and get it all done in 2 days. And now this week for 5 days, they're closing the school early, which has just thrown a spanner in my week.
Right.
But after school, we have swimming lessons. Then tonight we have guides and we have BB. So, how do I fit in my work? What I'm going to do is, swimming only lasts 30 minutes. So I'm not even going to attempt to do anything then. I might check a few emails on my phone while Shay is in the pool. But I share lifts with another mum to BB. So what I'm actually going to do, because I've got a workshop tomorrow and I'll go over my notes for it, I'm going to take my laptop with me, take her son and my son, drop them off, go to a local coffee shop and work for the hour that they're in BB, and then bring both boys home. And what happens then is that the other mum will then, another week, she'll be able to do both runs and I won't have to leave the house. So again, team working, trying to fit it in. I mean, at this age, they have homeworks that it depends on how your kids are doing at school. My kids the 2 older ones are doing brilliantly at school. But the younger one has a few issues with his handwriting, so he needs extra help. Yeah. So I can't sit, at the computer or the iPad catching up on emails, because if I do, all his D's will be written back to front by the time he finishes his homework. I very much work while the kids are at school, and then I stop when I pick them up until I used to work most nights and I don't anymore, thank goodness, because I've really simplified down to be honest, I've simplified down what I do in my business to less strands of work, so I don't have to work at night so much anymore, which is brilliant.
So talk to us about that. Let's unpack what you just said. So when you say you've simplified down the strands of your brand or your company, is that meaning that you're offering less products and services, or you've simplified the workflow of how you work with your clients, or a bit of both?
Well, both actually, because I've got so I use a software called 17 Hats.
Okay, cool.
I use there are workflows created in that. So if we take as an example, when I book podcast guests, I create the person as a contact in there, and then I enter them into a workflow. First thing in the workflow is send out the booking email. Then once that's done, the next thing, and you literally, all the emails are set there. And as I go through the steps, I tick them all off as I go, reminding me not to miss steps.
Brilliant.
For a start. And the emails are all pre-written as well.
That's brilliant, because now you've simplified something. It's a task, a repetitive task you do over and over and over again. So we'll put a link down in the show notes on 17 Hats. So I mean, something like that keeps you on track. And does it send out those emails automatically, or do you have to schedule those?
I think you probably can, but the way I have it set up is that I go back in and I make sure. I think because I want to just make sure that I'm not missing any steps. So I go in myself and just tick the next one to go and hit send. So that's simplifying the processes. Yeah. But the business itself. So I used to do social media management for clients and workshops and one-to-one training. And really, to be honest, Mary, if anybody ever asked me to do something that you want to pay me money for, I would say yes.
Yes. That's how it is at the beginning of your business. But then after a while, you wise up and you go, oh yeah, actually, if I just focus on the things that I know I can over deliver, and the clients are always raging fans and love afterwards, then there's your answer.
Yeah, because I build websites for people, and I'm not a website builder.
And I think that's fair to say that, and be honest with yourself as a business person, even though you can do that, or you can figure it out, is it the best use of your time?
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Because you would spend so long doing something that it's not your niche and you're not an expert at. Right. Yes, I can do it. But it's not what I do.
Yes.
So now what I have is really, I have my membership site where people can join and learn how to do online marketing themselves. And I have the workshops that I do. So I have 7 workshops lined up for the next 6 weeks. And simplifying that even further, Mary, they're very similar topics. So I have the presentations done, and I literally just need to go in and make little tweaks and deliver that to the next group, rather than, because I used to create a brand new presentation for every workshop.
Time. Mm-hmm.
Which is just crazy. So now I have my templates, and I go to my template. So for example, a local commercial real estate company wanted me to come in and train their team all how to use LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than creating a presentation from scratch for them on LinkedIn, I used previous workshop I had done on LinkedIn and just altered the examples to fit commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, 3 years ago, I'd have been creating brand new. Actually, my husband is a business analyst, and he always says, Louise, I told you to do that ages ago and you didn't listen to me.
Sometimes it's nice when you kind of like, you have to hear something multiple times, and then somebody else says it, and then you're like, you go back to your husband and you go, I've got this brilliant idea. I'm going to automate my blah, blah, blah. And he just sort of looks at you and he smiles,
Yes,
if he's a nice guy.
That's such a common occurrence in our marriage.
Yeah. So we talked about early littles. We talked about when they're kind of ages 6 to 10. But now talk to me about being a parent and having children that are, say, 11-year-olds and older, dare say, teenagers. And I know you're not quite there yet, but what's it like? What do you think it's going to be like to be a parent and entrepreneur during that phase?
Well, I think teenage years, I'm really not sure how they're going to go. I already have lost my weekends to hockey and rugby runs. So as they get older, and they have more things that they choose to go to. Maybe when they're little, you can pick the ones you want to go to around your schedule.
Yeah.
I'm dreading them when they start going out to friends' houses on a Saturday night, and we have to go and collect them at 10 o'clock or something. Or maybe later.
Yeah, or going on dates. Like, I don't know if our households, we're ready for that. Not yet all.
No, that's just 21.
Yes, no, you're not getting married until you're 40. That's it, done.
They definitely, my 12-year-old is now at grammar school, so some of her homeworks I find quite challenging, actually, already. Yeah. And I have to get up earlier to get her out to the train. So that's another thing. That's a different. So, people say, oh, when they're older, you'll not have to get up so early. That's not working out for me.
No.
Saturday mornings, we had to get up at 6:30 2 weeks ago because she had to be at school at 8 o'clock to go to a hockey match. So different time zones. And also, I know that people say as teenagers will be squirreled away up in their bedrooms and not want to speak to you. And I heard a talk on Women's Hour a few months ago where the mum said, well, I wish my kids were coming and bothering me and trying to distract me from my work. But she says, but they don't even answer me now. They just grunt. And I'm really hoping that doesn't happen in our family. But
yeah. And I think you have to start that conversation now. Like, it really depends on your relationship with your children also. I'm the same way with you as well. I hope that we don't get to that point. And we have such a loving relationship with our kids. We still read to them every single night in bed. Yeah. And I think it's setting that tone that they can come to you, even, in the 16, 17-year-old phase as well. So tell me then, talk to me about technology. Now, obviously, you're an expert in social media marketing and things, but I really want to talk to you about or hear your advice and thoughts on how technology has really helped women these days, jump off the 9-to-5 corporate ladder and go off and start their own business. So talk to me how maybe that's easier now than it was, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest benefits for women is actually being able to work out of your own home for other business owners. I work out of my own home and I'm able to, I can deliver, I can create my presentations at home and stuff like that. But I can also do interviews over Skype with clients and customers from all over the world, which, our parents wouldn't have dreamed that could have even existed. You also have the ability to learn anything that you want to learn about. So, when I go to the school gates, because I have my own business and I'm an entrepreneur and the mums that I'm friendly with who work in jobs, just sometimes they say to me, oh, I have this idea for a business. And I just encourage everybody to really explore what it is they're looking at. And I always say to them, do you know what you need to do first is start writing a blog about what it is that you want to sell. So there's a lovely girl called Gail who is setting herself up as a virtual assistant. And I said, Gail, for people to know and understand what you can do, you need to start writing blog articles for people that you can then share and show your expertise.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to reach an audience. And then you have like Facebook groups full of small business owners that you can bounce ideas off and worries and stresses. But you can also direct them to your blog where you can show them that, look, I can tell you how to set up an email account here because here's an article I wrote about it. So it's kind of amazing, really.
So tell me about maybe one or two Facebook groups that you're part of right now that you absolutely get such great value out of.
Oh, wow. Well, so of course I have my own.
Yes. So that is what?
That's called the Social Beehive.
Social Beehive. And we'll put the link in the show notes for that as well. What other ones are you involved in that you found great value?
There's one called Soulful PR with Janet Murray, and Janet has her own podcast. So I'm in there, and that group has grown. When I joined it had about 3,000 people in it. Now it's got about 11,000. And that's all about getting PR for your business yourself rather than hiring a public relations firm. And it could be, so when I joined that group, I learned through that group how to become a Huffington Post blogger, for example, which is now, they've closed that off, but I became a contributor to the American Huffington Post platform through connections I found in that group. And another one is the Talented Ladies Club, which is run by Hannah Martin. And she does a Facebook Live every Wednesday about just little tips and tricks to help you with business building. So she is much more about, whereas I'm about helping people with their online marketing, Hannah and I sit quite nicely beside each other because she's about women kickstarting their business. And actually through her group, I reached out to her and I was able then to guest blog on her website and do a webinar with her, which brought me a lot of traffic of her audience. So groups are a way to connect with other business owners and get collaborative.
And I think that you're absolutely right. Online Facebook groups have been such a boon for my business as well over the last few years. To be able to connect with very smart men and women all over the world. I mean, and you literally might be in a teeny tiny village in Belfast, but you actually have ability to connect with everyone. So I think, the tools and technology that's come along a long, long way, Skype, WebEx, Zoom, those kinds of video conferencing tools, Facebook groups and things like that. But then also people are turning more to online courses and webinars and just to get the education and knowledge that they're needing. So yes, we do all have Google at our fingertips, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what to search for. But I certainly think that there are, when you start in a Facebook group like that, like your Social Beehive, you'll start to understand what the questions are to ask. That's huge. And I think as women, we aren't afraid to ask questions sometimes. We are more willing to share what we know and rather than, I think men tend to hold on to it, but
yes.
Yeah. So I really also feel, do you agree that culture is now shifting ever so slowly, but it's shifting to give women the ability, the resources, and the encouragement to be small business owners? Have you seen that where you are?
Definitely. Last year, I was part of the Small Business Saturday 100 Small Businesses, and we were brought to Downing Street to meet the Treasury of the Secretary. And he said, small businesses drive this country forward. And I think there's some statistic, now I'm not going to pull a statistic out of the air, Mary, but that the number of women entrepreneurs is growing faster than the number of men because it fits around our lives. Once we start having families, actually having your own business that you're in control of, and it's so much more flexible around your family, is just a really amazing opportunity, I think.
Yeah, because then you can set your own schedule. You can determine how many clients, how big or few you do have, and you have a bit more control than, say, the regular 9 to 5. We're very lucky in the UK. I'll say this. I mean, there might be people listening from the US, and sadly in the UK, the good news is if you're in the UK, we have NHS, we have healthcare.
Yeah.
I mean, in the US, I can tell you from experience, when I was based there and, running the Simplifiers as a company, I think my health care for my family of 4 was roughly $1,200 a month.
Ooh, wow.
Going out of my pocket just to have the ability to go see a doctor. That doesn't even include the doctor visits. That doesn't include medicine and prescriptions, all of that. So if you're listening and you are in the UK, realize what an opportunity you have by having that expense already taken care of for you.
Yeah, I think it's underappreciated, definitely.
So, Louise, I want to know, to wrap up our conversation today, just what are 3 or 4 simple things that somebody could do right now if they are also juggling being a parent and being an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. 3 things. I think one thing I have really talked to my own audience about is organizing your work in batches. So look at your calendar for the next 4 weeks, say, and the time that you're actually going to genuinely have available to do your work, and block out the time. So if you are writing a blog, for example, or you're creating posts for your Facebook page, block out a 2-hour window or 3-hour window, whatever you need, and do all the work for that for the next 4 weeks. On Facebook, you can schedule all your posts in advance for the next 4 weeks so that you are not panicking because you think you haven't done your blog for this week, or it's 3 days since you posted anything on your Facebook page and time's just getting away from you. So if you can kind of organize what it is that you're going to talk about, write it down on a planner and block out that time. So really batching your work as opposed to, what I call the spray and pray technique.
Yes. Where you've got 20 billion tabs open on your computer and
you just jump on your Facebook page and fire something on there because you forgot to do it for 3 days and you hope that that's good enough.
Yeah.
It's not it's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's okay to make do as well. Don't get me wrong, because people with kids, it is hard. It's really hard. But if you get a little bit better organized, it can really make life a lot easier, I think.
Okay, so automate some tasks, schedule some posts. What's another thing that somebody can do that's simple?
I would create templates for my emails, for my invoices, and have them that you can just go and grab them.
So I've heard fancy words of calling that swipe copies, copy that you can just swipe, copy and paste and plunk in, whether that's automated through, like you said, 17 hats or, Gmail, canned responses, things like that. So you're not typing the same email over and over and over again.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 3, batch your cooking. Yes.
I mean, oh my goodness, if you're going to make chili con carne on Wednesday night, make enough that you've got half to put in the freezer for next week. Or some people do it all on a Sunday. Now, I'm not really wild about that idea because, you need to take some time off as well. But trying to get ahead of yourself definitely makes a difference. And a really simple, small step that makes my life so much easier is doing the sandwiches for the packed lunches the night before.
Yes.
Because the mornings where I get up, when I've forgotten to do the packed lunches, I mean, it's just hectic, and just little simple steps about kind of getting yourself ready the night before for the day ahead. The kids are going out to school and you're not thinking, oh no, where's the stuff for PE? Oh, I haven't got sandwiches for, one of the kids' lunch boxes. So trying to get prepared the night ahead makes such a difference.
Yeah, I think it comes down to I run the day, not the day runs me, And when you do those things, you're giving almost like future Louise a little love note by doing that. You're just setting future Louise up for success, and that I think that's huge. So
one thing I've actually started doing just this week, because I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, is that I'm getting up 30 minutes earlier just for me. So I'm getting up in the morning, I'm doing a little bit of meditation, and I'm talking 5 minutes of meditation,
Yeah.
5 minutes of stretching, 5 minutes of reading, and 5 minutes of thinking about what I want to actually achieve for the day before I wake the rest of the house. And it just makes, the day go so much better so far.
Very smart. Very smart. Morning rituals, I'm a big believer in that as well.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, I've got a few final questions that I like to ask everyone. First and foremost, tell us one person that you know in your circle that we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast, and why.
I talked about Hannah earlier, actually. So Hannah would be a great guest. She was on the Social Bee podcast. She is just an advocate for women starting their businesses. And I love how she talks and delivers. Her talk's very clear and straightforward and doesn't make things too complicated. So I think she'd be a great guest.
Love it. Now, gratitude and simplicity, they go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for today?
I am always grateful for the health of my family. I do think, we are so lucky. All 5 of us, my husband and I and the 3 kids, can get out of bed in the morning, get dressed, go to work, go to school, do whatever we want, and don't have any health issues. Thank goodness. Touch wood. I do touch wood. If you're like that. But I'm really grateful that we are healthy. Definitely. For one.
So what is one superpower you possess?
Oh my goodness. The ability to think about 20 things at once.
How did you develop this skill or trait over time to be able to juggle so much in your mind?
Yeah. I do. My mind does flit a lot, but when I want to, I can really focus in on what I need to do. And I've definitely got a determination. And my dad passed away when my first daughter was only 6 weeks old. And he always said about me, Louise, you can do or be whatever you want to be. And that is really something that I hold close. And I think, there are no limits. Really think that you can do whatever you want to do.
As long as you take daily action to do the thing, you focus on your goal and take daily action towards it. I think it's true. It's absolutely true.
One step after the other. That's how it works. That's how you build a business, one step at a time.
100%. So is there anything that you'd like us to talk about? I know you've got the Social Bee Academy. So tell us a little bit more about this membership group and what it is.
Okay, so the membership is only in its infancy. And it is aimed at entrepreneurs who want to figure out how to market their business online in a more straightforward way. So I'm teaching people how to do blogging, how to use social media, how to create, grow, and build an email list, and how to bring it all together so it all actually fits together. So it's every month I release new training, and we have a live coaching call all together, and we have a community group as well where people are asking questions and posting questions and really supporting each other. And I've got really fantastic feedback so far. So it's a really nice bunch of people as well. It's called the Social Bee Academy, and it's at louisebrogan.com.
Great. So we'll put those notes in the show notes. And you also have a free 5-day Facebook course, right? So for people that are starting out on Facebook, just literally at the beginning, on how to use Facebook for their business. So we'll put a link down below on how people can be part of that free 5-day course. That sounds brilliant. Yes. Well, Louise, thank you so much. Where can people find you online?
Everywhere.
Where do you hang out the most? Like if you had to take one account, I know you're a social media maven, but where do you hang out the most if people want to make contact?
I would say inside my Facebook group in the Social Beehive, but also on the Facebook page is where you'll find a lot of the content that I create. So it's facebook.com, socialbni.
Well, Louise, thank you so much for taking time today. I feel like this is a conversation that is a continuing thread and will be on the Simplifiers podcast. But as a reminder to everybody that's listening out there, if you're a parent and your kids are at any age, diapers to college, and you're also juggling running a business, I think what is the final message that you want to say in their ear, if you could whisper in their ear right now?
oh, everything will be okay.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Louise, so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary.